Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Soul Talks with Alka. When you want to be a mom so badly that nothing is going to stop you, not infertility, not in vitro, nothing is going to stop you, and you will become a mom through adoption. That's what my next guest is all about. She's going to tell you the challenges. She's going to tell you the joy of being called mom. Ruth, welcome to our show.
I'm already crying.
Yeah, well, you're a mom.
Okay. So where do we start?
Well, so tell me, after your marriage, right? How long did you try to be a mom?
So I was I got married, I was 28, and we wanted a year of freedom.
Of course.
So at 29, we started, and the doctor said, give it a year. Just keep trying, because that's what people are told.
Absolutely.
In hindsight, I wished I had started 6 months earlier because there really were problems. But for a full year, just had fun trying.
So do you think age plays a role?
Definitely.
So a lot of the girls now are having kids later and later. Even though they say it's okay, but people can have kids later. But there are serious repercussions of having children later on in life.
Well, there are obviously the ones that everyone talks about, which over 35, and there's genetic.
Right.
But our bodies are starting to age towards menopause, starting at about 25.
Oh, okay.
Which I learned.
Mm-hmm.
And so it gets harder statistically when you're 29, 30, 34, and it gets worse and worse.
All right. Okay.
Our personal story was that between my husband and I, each of us had some issues, and I should have probably started having kids at about 20 in terms of my story. But we started very aggressively at 29 when we found out what each other's problems were, challenges. And then we started very slowly in the process of infertility. They gave us medicine, and it seemed very easy. As progressively it got harder and harder, no pregnancy, we chose to go towards the in vitro.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't giving up. I mean,
you wanted to be a mom?
I wanted to be a mom. I wanted to be pregnant and be a mom.
Right.
Desperately. So after 6 years, so I started at 30, and at 36 of 6 in vitros, because you have to wait, the months in between, blah, blah, blah.
So how is that when you're doing that, right? Obviously it's expensive,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it takes a financial burden. It takes a financial toll on you, but it also takes a mental and emotional.
So for us, I had really good insurance, which covered in vitro. Now remember, I'm a little older, so this is going back, my daughter's now 25.
Mm-hmm.
It's going about 26 years earlier, and a lot of insurances did not cover infertility. Mine luckily did. So financially, for us, it wasn't a huge burden. Mm-hmm. There was some, but not huge. But emotionally, every month was desperate sadness. Yeah. But we just kept going on. It could affect marriages, and it does, infertility.
Yeah.
We're married 32 years, going strong, I think.
Well, last year.
After 32 years. But it did take a toll, I think, on each of us, but for the woman going through the rigors of you're taking medicine, you're taking hormones, and those things caused, I think, just you're through the cycle, you're up and down, right? So add hormones to that.
Right.
It just killed me for those 6 years emotionally.
Yeah.
But I plugged away. I was able to live my life. We went on vacations. We found some, joy in our life, but we're missing that piece.
That piece of having a baby, of holding a baby.
Right. So through those years, my doctor had been with me. I used the same doctor. She finally came to me and said, do you want to be a mom or do you want to be pregnant? Because that really was the choice. We could not biologically have a child. Yeah. It was done. And I really, really wanted to be a mom. You have to really have that
burning desire.
Burning desire.
Yeah.
Because Then you switch gears. Your goal for 6-7 years is becoming pregnant.
Right.
Then you got to switch to you want a baby through adoption.
Right.
And it's a whole other world.
Right.
So we had to start with, in those days, it was a book with a story. Our stories, we had to write letters. Well, let me back up. First of all, which way did we want to go? Did we want to go domestically or did we want to go internationally?
So this starts with, I can't be pregnant. Now I want to be a mom, right? So now you say, you know what? I'm going to go to adoption. That's going to be the course of action we're going to take. So now you have to decide whether you want to do domestic or international.
Correct. And do you want what race do you want to go towards is your goal, your wish, your desire? Do you want a newborn? Are you okay with a 2-year-old toddler? Are you okay with a, 5 to 10-year? What is the end game here?
Right.
And I really wanted a baby. I wanted a newborn. At the time, I thought it was important for our family to look the same. I think now, in hindsight, to me, love is love.
Right.
But at the time, I needed to recreate or create a family that I had in my mind.
Right.
So we were fortunate enough to have the ability financially to go private.
Okay.
You can go private through adoption agency, or
Right.
you can go through an attorney.
Okay.
We chose to go through an agency because it's easier, I think, was
Right.
easier on us.
Yeah.
We didn't have to do all the work.
Right. Someone else, you outsourced it.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And then Steve and I had to have a home study done, which was, it bothers me to this day.
Yeah.
I told you before, Charles Manson can procreate.
Yeah.
But Ruth and Steve had to get approval by the government to be able to have a baby.
That's right.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
So
that's their protocol. They also want to make sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we had to get a home study, which included home visits. Where was the baby going to live? Your lifestyle. And we had to get fingerprinted. All of those things, even before you could apply to the adoption agency.
Okay.
So once we got the home study approval, my home study person said to me, we were very lucky. If you want a baby, go to this agency in Florida. You'll get a baby right away, like that. Newborn, Caucasian,
Wow.
healthy. I mean, so why would I not go right down to the agency?
Exactly.
So I called the agency. We sent in a portfolio, they called it at the time. Now everybody's doing video in lieu of a portfolio, which was picture books in those days.
Yeah.
So Steve wrote a letter. I had to write a letter to the birth mother.
Okay.
Why we wanted to be parents.
Okay.
And then also send pictures of our life. Because they're really looking through many of our stories.
Right.
Many wanting to be adoption parents.
Right.
Stories.
So and the birth mother has to pick you, right? Yeah.
So we got picked in, 5 months.
Oh, okay.
We were very
so
fortunate.
fairly quickly.
Yes. And why? I mean, it could be many reasons. Ours was my husband was born in Europe, in the same area that this birth mother was born. It could be
there was connections.
You love horses, they have a horse. It could be any number of reasons.
Yeah.
That was our first story.
It's also that you look like them.
Right.
So
well, Steve did actually more, but that was what she honed in on, not, I took pictures of my nieces and nephews and us at the park and, all these other things, vacations. And it was just simply that he was from Europe and so was she.
Okay.
So we got picked and then Steve and they wanted to meet us. It was this story was, you always think of birth mothers being 15 and pregnant, right? She was my age. I was 36 at the time. She was 36. She was unable to care for a child, and she didn't believe in abortion. She was her religion was very important to her, and she went and chose adoption for her unborn child, and she wanted to meet us. So Steve and I flew down. I'll never forget it. Memorial Day weekend. And we met her and the birth father. And if I tell you that was the most surreal experience, she was 6 months pregnant. Allie was due in August. She had me touching Allie in utero, the kicking. She goes, oh, come here. Allie was kicking. It was as if she knew she had emotionally removed herself from the unborn child.
Was that her first child?
No.
Okay.
She had a 2-year-old, a 1-year-old, and one on the way. And had no, they were homeless.
Okay.
So, she was very grateful for us. So when people go, oh, it was done out of why didn't your birth mother want you?
Yeah.
Or why didn't my birth mother want me?
Yeah.
They wanted the best for their unborn child.
They wanted to go home.
It was love. Adoption equals love.
Yeah.
It doesn't equal abandonment. The way society, I think, has put it out there.
Right.
Even Disney has put it out there in terms of a negative spin.
Yeah.
Sorry, Disney. But for our stories, and I think many others, if you asked adoptive parents, it's all love.
Yeah.
And then we went home. We didn't talk for a day. We were such in shock that this was really going to happen, and that these people are now.
Were you crying?
Oh my gosh, we were both crying. Yeah. I'll start crying again. The birth mother was crying. I was crying. We were hugging each other.
Yeah.
And we went home with, of course, no baby, right? She wasn't even born yet. We didn't know it was a she. She didn't want to know. And our second daughter, we knew was a girl, but we didn't know what we were getting. And we got a call August 13th that our daughter was born. And the birth mother didn't want us to be in the room. Mm-hmm. Some birth mothers do.
Yeah.
And honestly, we didn't want to at the time. In hindsight, I kind of wish I was. But you can't recreate these things. At the time, we both agreed. And we flew down that next day. All 4 of us were in the room. And she's like, here she is. And I looked at her, I'm like, oh my God, she was beautiful. Beautiful baby. Perfect.
I can imagine you bawling.
Oh my God. It was surreal that this baby was ours. And so what happened was she said goodbye, and we wheeled Allie out of the bedroom of the hospital room. And in Florida, each state is different. So in Florida, it was no waiting period. Oh, so she signed the papers. Both birth parents signed the papers immediately upon the birth of her birth. And so we were able to take her, and in the old days, they waited 5 days to take the baby. We took her home that day because we flew down the 14th, and we took her home, and we couldn't leave the state. And this is also not changed in 25 years. You cannot leave the state that the child is born in until paperwork is done. So the government releases the baby from Florida.
Yeah, they want to make sure that the baby's going safely and somebody's not stealing the baby.
Exactly. Yeah. So we had to wait the days and get notified. Well, luckily my parents had a house in Florida. So we took our baby home, in essence. Some have to stay in a hotel room for the number of days. We took Allie home. And then in 5 days, we were released, and we came and brought her home to our house in New Jersey. And then we started to raise our baby.
So did it feel like, now you're a mom, right? So did you cry initially a few days? Just that
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't accept it. I could not wrap my head around. I remember calling her, I couldn't even call her my baby. People would talk on the phone, and I would say the baby. It was because we didn't have time, like a pregnancy, 9 months to prepare for this baby to come home.
Right.
And I didn't bond internally with this baby. Right. So no, it was surreal for the first few days. And then when you're up in the middle of the night and you're feeding and you're changing, the bonding, then this is real. I'm doing this. This is my baby. And then as the months went by, and as we bonded, she wanted mommy. Right. You know how babies are.
Yeah.
Whereas
they look at you and smile.
Yeah, they want mommy. They don't want grandma or friend. They want, and so then it solidifies our real relationship. Yeah. And so,
what was it for? Like the first time she said "mom"?
Oh my gosh, it was just beautiful. And she did say mom, she didn't say dad. You know how some
Yeah.
her first word was mama. So it was wonderful. I mean, it's when you want it so badly, it is just the most rewarding experience.
Yeah.
And it's not all, roses, and there are challenges with biological kids and there's challenges with adoptive kids, and they're the similar challenges. I wouldn't say same, but they are similar.
Parenting is similar.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
and so as she grew, I was going through the same experiences that my friends who had babies. So at that time it felt, the exact same, the same. And then I got the itch again in 2 years.
To have another one.
To have another one.
Nice.
Could not convince Steve right away, but we're me. Where there's a Ruth will, there is a way.
Yeah.
And what I did was with this agency, first of all, I was so grateful to them and connecting us that I would send down clothes and maternity. If I was shopping in wherever and I saw maternity clothes, I would send it down to Florida.
Of course, they made your dream come true.
They did, and I was so grateful. And so when I wanted another one, and I did the same thing, the portfolio, and now we had pictures of Allie and in our portfolio. The agency actually talked to a birth mother about us, and 4 months later we had Carly.
Yeah.
And she was perfect, and a totally different story than my first one.
So was the birth mother just as receptive for Carly as well?
She was even more so. Her story was, again, my age.
Okay.
Had already placed other of her children through adoption.
Mm-hmm.
So for her, it was a different relationship right from the start.
Okay.
That she had removed emotionally herself. She did not want to meet us.
Oh, okay.
Totally different story.
Yeah.
Did not want to meet us. We got a call that Carly was born. I think I put my paperwork in I don't know, March, and Carly was born October 9th.
Wow. Okay.
But we were chosen right away, and
right.
we had to wait for her to be born.
Right.
And then again, we flew down the next day, but we did not see the birth mother.
Okay.
We just went and picked up Carly, waited this certain amount of days, and came home. And so I had my family.
Wow. So now you have husband, wife, two kids that you wanted. You're a mommy.
Yep.
So are the girls in touch with their birth mothers?
It's a very personal thing. Our older daughter, it's with social media today, with 23andMe, with Ancestry.com. It really is not up to us.
Yes.
We have to accept and understand love.
Yes.
And we were not threatened by it, but it took many years for us not to be threatened by it.
Yeah.
And our older daughter has decided she knows where they are and knows how to get in touch with them. But for her, we're her mom and dad, and there's no reason for her to emotionally be sad. My younger one, she searched and ended up finding a whole bunch of
Relatives.
half biological relatives.
Wow.
So the language is not, and you didn't mean it in terms of not including it, but for an adoptive person, biological is very important because her biological relatives are different than her relatives.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Right.
So my goal, being an adoptive mom, is to educate and to help other families, husbands, wives, or just women who want to become a mom, that adoption is a viable, real resource.
Right.
Infertility is not. I never got pregnant over 6 years through infertility. It doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah.
And that doctors will tell you the statistics when you go in. They're not 100%.
Yeah.
Adoption, if you wait long enough, it is 100% that you'll become a mom.
That'll definitely come through.
Mm-hmm.
So what would be your advice for someone who said, you know what, I want to have a child, what would you say to that person?
Well, I would say you can have a child. Always, I will say that to them.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a child if you are willing to put the biology aside. I mean, you can do biology every other way too, but if you're diagnosed with infertility, you still can have a child.
Mm.
And I have helped many, many families, and I'm not doing this out of being, bragging. It's my passion.
Yes.
I feel that's my calling. You're very much a soulful person. And I'm like, why would this happen otherwise? So I brought together families with the adoption agency that I worked with.
Okay.
And I've also helped women, not through the agency, but going through adoption when they were down and waiting.
Yeah, this is an emotional roller coaster.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you have some sort of if you know your plan, and if you have a plan and somebody's been through it, just makes it so much easier,
right,
for the person going through it.
My message that I really want to get out for the people that are concerned about how can you love them the same. Absolutely, I love my girls, our daughters, as much as any other parent that has biologically had their children. Love is made from relationships. It is not made from biology.
Absolutely.
That's a big learning factor in this whole thing.
Absolutely. And you have taken more than the same pains raising your daughters, right?
Absolutely.
And so for you, being mom I think, because it came to you not so easy, it came to you with so much difficulty. So for you, that means so much more.
Right. I always tell them they were born out of our hearts and not out of my belly.
Oh,
so that's their message that they get. So.
That's so sweet.
But the love is huge.
Absolutely. So as everybody heard, Ruth's story is wonderful. Being mom has been extremely fulfilling for her. If you think that someone can benefit from her story, please share it, because you never know who needs to hear what Ruth had to say. And if you need to get in touch with Ruth, please reach out to me and we'll put you in touch with Ruth. Again, thank you for watching Soul Talks with Alka.